to piggyback off of that, I think that's a really, really valid point because I know at the end of the day, what we're going to end up saying to close us off is exposure is going to be huge. Us actually being able to connect and see each other is going to be massive, but we really don't have places. And like per se, like you said, as adults, it's hard to make friends, period. And I mean, think about it. You walk on the elevator, everybody's like, oh. I'm not looking at nothing.
I asked for someone's phone number on the elevator the other day because I was like, I'd like to make a friend in this building. Want to be friends? And he was like, okay. And then we went out for beers. But everyone was like, wait, you did that? I'm like, that shouldn't be weird.
Yes.
When we're little, we play in the sandbox, and then we say, Mom, I want to have a play date with this person. Let's go.
Yes.
But literally, everyone's like this. I'm like, hi, excuse me, I just moved in. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Like, what are you, a politician? I'm like, no, I'm just trying to make a friend.
Yeah. But that's one of those things where just like real talk is hard as adults to make friends, period. Yeah. But especially just like, let's say you move to Chicago to meet people that don't look like you. And you finally get here and there's your opportunity to meet somebody that doesn't look like you. And like, that's just not the way it works. It's just not that cut and dry. Yeah. Yet, and it's not that those pathways aren't available. It's just the solution is going to be
places and at events and in rooms where there's that opportunity. But
I'm also be 100. If I'm out kicking it, I don't always want to meet new people. Like I got my routine. Like I'm eating, bro.
I also think there's a level of I don't know if exhaustion is the right word, but there's a level of exhaustion when it comes to you're always the person in the relationship that is explaining your cultural experience. When you're always the person in the relationship that's like, okay, this is this is why this is the reason that this person like FaceTimes me all the time.
Fatigue.
This is the reason that I listen to this. This is the reason that in the course of like me and Anthony hanging out, we've shaken up like 9 different times. You know what I mean? Like this is, you know what I mean? This is like, and so you start to get to this level of like exhaustion of like, okay, like I just want to be with people that can fully understand me, fully appreciate me, and then I don't have to be in a space of trying to be like the best version of myself. I could even be honest. You know what I mean? It's like it's like that whole thing of like
you're not representing your entire culture every 5 seconds. And to what you said, when you come try and make friends, if you meet someone and they snap at you, now you think, oh, well, all black people
that didn't go well.
Right? You're like, what's going on?
That's the way it goes. But it's a matter of there is that pressure that's put on people of color to be the representative of your culture in a lot of spaces when it comes to diversity. And I mean, Arlen Hamilton just was quoted last year. She spent how much time? Do you guys know Arlen she started Backstage Capital. It's a venture capital firm that invests in women and people of color. She's black, queer, from San Francisco, was homeless for a number of years, was like the door was shut in her face a million different times from the VC perspective, like you don't belong in our world. She shows up in a hoodie. Now she is the #1 kind of investor in people of color and women coming out of San Fran. Like there's Andreessen Horowitz, I think, is doing a fund with her. And don't quote me on all this. You'll have to fact check. This is me remembering from Twitter and all that. But she even came out and said,
Twitter's always right.
I'm not speaking on diversity anymore. Like I've said all I can say about that. I'm here speaking about what I'm doing, and I'm not here to be the only person representing my culture on this stage or my gender on this stage or whatever. I'm here to talk about what I do and what I'm good at, and like you'll learn something different from me because I look different than the people here. But I'm not always going to be the token person that you're going to put on a panel because to be that representative.
You know what else is interesting about that too? And granted, we're going to have a combo about it in the future, but if the workplace was as diverse as it should be, and when you're working with a team toward a common goal, and you're at like that should be where it's easy. That should be where it's available. But that's not the case all the time. It's actually fascinating.
I'm glad we brought this up because there is I've personally gotten so much value in having conversations about race and gender with straight white men, right? And like there is, I think, a reluctance and a defensiveness that comes along with a bunch of straight white men getting together for purposes of learning about race. Like everybody's initial reaction, their instinct is to be like, oh, we shouldn't be doing this. You know, this feels like the KKK. Like who knows? And there's something to that, right? Like there's like this immediate instinct, like, oh no, we need to go out and talk to people that know what they're talking about. But like some of my most productive and honest, most importantly, my most honest conversations have been with mentors of mine that share my identity.
Yeah. Well, that's
and
exactly
then
what
we
you
can
just
talk
said.
about the and
finding a space with people that are like you to understand
you need
your
that
questions.
space to
But it's
to, like,
not
be able to
okay for
fully
white
process.
people to do that right now. It is not okay.
Elaborate.
I mean,
because I think a part of it is good from a standpoint of you know that you can mess up with your white homeboy.
Yes.
He's not going to completely eviscerate you.
Yeah.
You know?
He's like, oh yeah, I did that too.
He can check you like,
I
ooh,
did that too.
Like, you can't say that.
And he does that. Like, you need to train that tongue a little bit on. I'm like, you're right.
Yeah. But it may not be the end of the friendship.
Yeah.
Which I think
Whereas
you and I have talked about friendships. We've been like, yo, I had to completely
Awful.
sever. No, it wasn't from one. It wasn't from one statement.
Yeah.
It was over time, multiple conversations, lots of grace. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
You're just like, I just can't no more.
Yeah. But I understand. Yeah.
Right.
so it's celebrated. I'm black in tech. It's celebrated and it should be, to find safe spaces for people of color, women, men, to get together. There cannot be I'm white in tech, because that's the norm. There cannot be a white entrepreneur get together. There cannot be those things. It's not okay. But there is a need for that safe space for exactly what you guys just said.
Yeah, and I when you say it's not okay, do you mean like you think there would be a public backlash? Is this like a publicity issue? Is it people not coming to the table?
That's the circumstance.
This point came from a learning that I had where I had two of my black girlfriends with me, and one of them was like, honestly, Michael, I feel bad for you. And I was like, what? She's like, I feel bad for white people right now because it's really hard to have these conversations, and it's not okay for you to celebrate your whiteness, and that shouldn't be a thing, but that's complicated. And my other friend was like, what are you talking about? Michael's fine. Like, this is fine. But I was like, no, actually, like, Audrey, like, what Audrey said really does speak to me in some ways, because I am now in charge of teaching my white girlfriends or white friends about different things. But then they see an article that's like, oh, dear white women, like, this is wrong. And no one wants to read that. No one wants to read something that immediately vilifies you and tells you something's wrong. But there's not that space to learn and feel comfortable. And if you created it from a public standpoint. Like, if I had a white women, let's get together and talk about diversity, that would be shitty, because what do white women know about diversity, and how are they going to have that conversation? And that's not the truth, and that wouldn't be the heart of it. But
I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But it's complicated.
I agree that that's the popular
hard,
sentiment,
like
but I'm rejecting that.
Yeah,
You know
and
what
I'm
I mean?
okay with you rejecting it, and
rejecting
it's something that's complicated and needs to be pulled apart. But it's that space of, I don't know what the solution is, but I know a lot of people are confused and moving through the world without that group of people to be like, is it okay when I do this? I don't know. Or just to be like, oh, okay, I'm figuring that out. And that's because it's traditionally been, there's white people that have these spaces or own these spaces, and now people are stepping into them, which is good and what we want, but it's complicated.
Now there's a nuance to what it is that you're saying that I definitely, there's a part of it that I definitely agree with.
Yeah.
And his resistance, I think I might be in a similar alignment with that, just because I think the most change will happen when white folks do get together, and there's white people educating other white folks on, like, let me help you understand from our perspective of how we don't know the black experience, but when they say X, they're not lying. Like, when they walk through things, like just giving concrete examples, just really espousing that level of like empathy, because I think there's a mixture of two, and there's times where we have the conversations across lines of color where, and it's visible, where I can tell there's a well-intentioned white person that says something that just lacks complete, like, that's so off. And like, you try to stay calm, but body language wise, you're just like, bruh.
It's visceral, like it crawls.
You just can't help it. And that's something that you could do your best to try to say it nicely, but they saw how you felt. You know? And that's one of those things where, in that way, it's almost impossible to have these real conversations because across color lines. It's because it's cringeworthy, and you see that, and no matter what this person says, you saw the way they responded, and you're just like, I messed up again. I messed up in public. I'm so embarrassed. I'm shutting down. I can't even hear what the response is because I can't believe.
Because I'm feeling so bad because I just said that. Oh my God, that just came out of my mouth.
So I do think the most productive. We need both. But I think a major component of that progress is going to come from white people having these conversations and doing their best to not fully understand, because we can never, like, I don't know what it's like to be a woman, period. Understand that it's different. Understand that they have like like different things to be concerned about. Like just being 100. Like understand they walk through life differently. I'm not going to ever claim to be like, oh well, I'm an expert on that. Like that's not the way that fucking works. Yeah. But I think just having these conversations and all that is just super necessary. And we got to stop being uncomfortable and we got to start being productive about it.